Yes guys, it's Jando. Today we're going to be looking at how to make a drum and bass track like Serum.
Why one person must be the boss?
Because only one person has the pom-pom.
This track's going to be much similar to his kind of wob, gaff on the wob kind of tunes that he's been making, Dad's Army and all of that. So yeah, let's jump straight into this. This is what the track sounds like, and then we're going to break it down and I'm going to show you how I've made it.
This is a fucking peaceful thing. This is music. Fuck you.
So yeah, that's the track. Let's jump straight into it and start with drums. So for these drums, sticking to the topic of Serum and the style of Serum, a lot of Serum's tracks are obviously rollers. He incorporates a lot of jump up within his music, but this one, I mean, you could probably class this as a jump up track, but the drums themselves are going to be more classed as kind of roller, jungly drums. So yeah, these are the drums on their own. Yeah, we've got two different bits going on there, and then we've also got these intro drums, which are a bit different as well. Which is obviously just a break. So yeah, let's jump straight into this drum kit that I've made here. So starting off, obviously, very basic kick snare pattern. And then we've got this little break from the BTP Aries pack, which is just top end percussion. And then same here as well. It's just like a low cut break, and then got this ride loop, which is super nice. And then it's got like skippy hats in there as well. Keeps the track flowing. So far we've got there. And then we've got this little ride effect that I've kind of faded out. Yeah, so all together, obviously. And then we change instantly when we get into the kind of the wob, gaff on the wob bit. We cut some of these rides so the drums get kind of stripped back a little bit. It gives it more of an effect, lets the wobs and stuff breathe a bit better in the mix. And then yeah, we get left with this. And this is just simply removing this like ride section here. So yeah, the drums are nothing too crazy. They're not too difficult to make. It's just basic patterns and layering kind of percussion and break kind of stuff. And that's how you get the kind of that Serum vibe, nice rollery, strong punching, rolling drums, which is key for the majority of Serum's tracks. So we also, like I said before, have this intro break, which is just a straight break sample. Nothing crazy going on with it, pretty much straight sample, no processing, but I have done this high pass or high cut filter on here, just to fade the drums out when it comes into the next transition. And then we've also got the same break here. This channel is just mixed down slightly differently to fit into the drop, fit into the mix of the drop better. But yeah, that's it for the drums. Again, nothing crazy going on. We've got a little bit of parallel compression just to beef the drums up a little bit, make them sound a little bit more full rather than kind of empty and stripped back a little bit. But yeah, that's the drums. Let's move on to the basses. So the basses is probably the main thing you've come to the video for, which is fair enough. But yeah, let's jump straight in. We've got our respaces. So we've got two different respaces we're using within the drop, and then we've also got our intro respace. So yeah, let's have a look at our intro respace. So this is the exact same as our drop respace, but I've used a lot more reverb on it, just kind of space it out a bit more, I think I've cut the lows on it a little bit more as well, just so it sounds more spacey and kind of in the background a little bit, just for the intro. And then when it comes into the drop, it's way more hard hitting, a lot more punchy, and pushes through the mix a lot more. So yeah, let's look at the differences between this. So evidently a lot less reverb going on with this, and that's just because that's the main drop respace. And checking out the respace patch, it's a pretty basic respace patch, more like a Renegade Reese, but I put a Combs filter on it, and I'm not sure if I have automated. No, I haven't automated. I did have automation on the pitch bend, but I'm evidently not using that anymore. Yeah, it's a pretty basic patch. It's just sine waves. We've got, we've got a bit of modulation and stuff going on here. So if we're going to look at this, copy this patch, we're going to this patch here, obviously not filled out, which would be FFT seconds, I believe. So yeah, you copy this patch down. I'll just cycle through these mod filters here, and you can copy this patch as well if you want to. Also got post processing on this sub one here for the mix on the filter. But yeah, it's just a fairly basic Renegade Reese patch, but I've used a Combs filter on there, which is making it a lot more gritty. Mix that with a lot of distortion, saturation, that kind of thing, makes it super, super gritty. And then we've also got multiband on. So yeah, that's where the grit is coming from on this Respace. With a normal Renegade kind of Respace style, it's a lot more tame. If you think Ray Keefe, I think it's a Renegade Terrorist, obviously. A lot more of a tame Respace. This is way more aggressive. We have got our 808s now. I always make my 808s using a program called Sublab. It's just a super sick plugin. It's really easy to use. You can cycle through the presets on there and then kind of do your own thing with the processing of the 808s. But there's a ton of samples on there. It's super easy to use, and yeah, you get super sick 808s out of it. Really hard hitting kind of trap style 808s, but they fit into a DnB mix really nicely. Yeah, I've got a bit of isotope trash on there just to boost some of the harmonics, and same with decapitator, sidechain compression, which is very important for low end sub basses, and a little bit of EQ there as well. And then underneath that, which is obviously, we've got the main part of the track, which is our wobs. Yeah, for this one, Serum wob, we're going to be, right, I'm not going to run through this whole patch because I'll probably do an entire video on this kind of gaff on the wob, like, style of fucking bass. But yeah, harmonic series, and then we've got these, again, macro mods. I use them, well, I tend to use them quite a lot. Yeah, they're a bit annoying, but like, from your perspective to copy down, but yeah, they're good to use. So I'll just cycle through this. So we've got this speed one here set to the rate, and yeah, you can pretty easy to copy down, and then in this, and so yeah, pretty simple to copy down, nothing crazy going on. And like I said, I'm going to do a full video on this. But yeah, this kind of gaff on the wob thing is like the pinnacle of Serum's production. I've made a tune before using this kind of wob style stuff. It was a track me and Formula made called Preach, which I think got released on Invicta, I can't remember now. But yeah, they're super, super sick basses, really fun to play with, really fun to mess around with. And they're very like versatile basses. They can be used in a lot of different scenarios or subgenres of D&B. Like, you can mix them into basically anything and they sound pretty cool. Yeah, super, super sick sounds. What I'm going to do actually with all of these patches is I'm going to put them on my Patreon. So if you want to grab them, rather than waiting for a video about them, just head over to my Patreon and grab them off of there. It's only a $5 a month. Nice one. Shameless plug. So yeah, pinnacle of Serum's production is the kind of gaff on the wob, in quotation marks, sound. So yeah, and then obviously layered underneath that, we've got our sub bass. Basic kind of square wave sub. Use this with all of my patches. Well, not all of my patches, but I use this with like 90% of my tunes because I really like the sub in it. And yeah, very basic sub patch, so copy that down if you want to use my sub as well. And yeah, that's also sidechained, obviously. So the one thing that I'm going to point out with respace subs, now this is just kind of going a little bit off topic, but it's a really good tip to know, is respaces tend to have like this natural low end harmonic that you want to keep in your track. So what I like to do with my respaces is, rather than cutting all of the low end off of it and just having kind of that mid to mid high in my respaces, I kind of cut off like half of the low end of the respace. I kind of cut off like half of it, and then with the sub I'll also cut off like half of that low end on the sub as well. And then you can keep in that kind of natural low end of the respace, which gives a really, really nice harmonic, and then also layer the sub with it and not have anything clashing. Or yeah, it's, again, I'll cover that in a proper video, but if you understand what I'm saying, then perfect. So yeah, we've also got this second wobble here, which is a separate patch. I think I've just mixed it slightly differently. Nothing crazy going on with it, but I've also changed the pattern up a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of, yeah, changing it up, super sick little patch. And then we've also got the second respace. Now, this is probably one of my most favorite respaces I've made. Super, super sick. Really reminds me of kind of like Limited style respaces. So yeah, it's probably why, because Limited is one of my favorite producers of all time. Probably my #1 actually. But yeah, literally the exact same patch. I've just changed the cutoff on the Combs filter, and that's all it's doing. Just found a really nice harmonic on the cutoff, and yeah, have yourself a super sick patch. And that's what's really cool about filters like Combs filter and PHS 40 plus and reverb filter. Changing it the tiniest bit, you change that cutoff like 1%, and you find a brand new harmonic, which is super cool. And it changes the sound of stuff like completely. So yeah, but yeah, that's it for the bass section. It all comes really down to maybe like the structure of the track. But yeah, we've got kind of like one of those respacey, like normally you'd have like this crazy break going on and then it drops into something. You'll know what I mean if you listen to drum and bass. That's the same kind of vibe that I've gone for here, but I wanted to make the respace like a main element of it and not just this kind of like half fake drop thing. So yeah, that's it for the basses. Let's move on to the FX now. So in the FX, we've got a few good things going on. There's nothing really crazy going on with the effects at all on this track. The whole drop kind of takes over a little bit, but the main element of this that screams Serum within the FX is this little whistle effect. Now, he used this in a ton of tunes before, kind of offbeat whistles. It gives that kind of old school rave vibe when obviously there was like people running around with fucking whistles around their necks and blowing whistles in your ear at like 90s raves and stuff. But yeah, that to me like sticks out to Serum the most, and that's why I use that sample, because it really gives that vibe of like a Serum track, old school, kind of jump uppy, like old school mixed with new school, which is super cool. We've also got these impact that I like to use a lot. They're like impact claps, and I like to use them for sweeps and stuff, for transitions. Really give a good effect, and I also like to use them in the drops as well because it fills out some of that background if the drop is sounding a little bit empty. But yeah, I've just used that throughout the track in various places to either fill out the drop or using transitions every like 8 to 16 bars. And yeah, that's basically it. Nothing crazy going on with it. And then but the only difference, so these two channels are literally the same sample. One of them I'm just using as an impact, and one of them I'm using as an actual sweep. The sweep samples, I've put quite a lot of reverb on them, and to space them out a little bit more, and it made the transitions a lot smoother. But yeah, the main part of this track, and my favourite part of this track, is the vocal sample. And this is, as you can see, if you can read this here, is sampled from the Easy back-to-back Hizzle Guy, back-to-back Grey, at the Invaders Festival. Now this is the same festival that really famous video of Headaches double dropping Mr. Happy with something, can't remember what it is, when he was like 18 years old. It's the exact same festival, but in this set there was like a fight in the crowd or something, and the MC, which was Skywalker, I think, started screaming at the person in the crowd, and it made for a really super sick sample. So yeah, this is the sample on its own.
Stop fighting now! Oi, motherfuckers! Stop fighting now! Yo! Stop fighting! This is a fucking peaceful thing! This is music! Fuck you!
Yeah, super sick sample. And this is the really cool thing about drum and bass and music in general. Just get as creative as you possibly can. I just had this mix on one day and heard this, and I was like, fuck it, sampling it. Because he talks about the love for music and all of that stuff, and it just fits so well. It would do well in a rave as well. We might make a few people turn their heads a little bit thinking there's actually a fight going on, which would be funny, not gonna lie. But yeah, this is like probably one of my most favourite vocal samples I've ever used. And then yeah, we've chopped it in a few places just to help with like transition.
This is music! Fuck you!
Added like a bit of delay to it and stuff like that. But yeah, that is the track overall, like how you make a Serum track. Yeah, super fun track to make. I will release it at some point. I think I've spoken to a label about it, can't remember, but yeah, I need to kind of get on it a bit more with releasing tunes, because I rarely do that anymore. Yeah, probably one of my most favourite tracks I've made, and I'm going to release all of the presets and stuff onto my Patreon for this track, and I might even consider releasing like the full project for you guys to mess around with as well. But just go over to my Patreon, subscribe, check out for updates and stuff. I post a bunch of stuff on there all the time, kind of various stuff, MIDI files to help with your like kind of bass structure and bass positioning and stuff like that, samples, presets. I tried to dub up on there the other day, I believe. But yeah, nice one.